So, I spend one day without power or internet. Hurricane Dorian is bombarding me with rain, wind, sleet, hail, cats, dogs, cars, cows, alligators, just everything flying through the air. I'm enduring a hurricane. And I come back online. I turn on my computer as soon as my power comes back on, once the hurricane has passed. And I open up Twitter. And what do I find out? I find out that ContraPoints has not only been canceled, but she's deleted her Twitter account. I go away for one day, and this is what happens. A man can't just hunker down without internet or power to survive a hurricane without Breadtube fucking falling apart around him. And I come back and everything's on fire and burning. What the fuck? ContraPoints is canceled? Really? Listen, we're gonna go into the detail on this because I've got a very nuanced opinion on this that isn't just like straight, oh, ContraPoints bad or ContraPoints good, okay? Very good take. Very, very nuanced good take, okay? So, why did ContraPoints get canceled? Well, let's start by me going on a bit of a rant about Twitter. Twitter is a terrible fucking website. I would actually argue that it's almost as bad as Facebook. Twitter, because of its character limit, disincentivizes long, thought-out, nuanced takes. If you want to have a take on Twitter, you can think up like the perfect way to word it in your mind. It can be just the best take ever. And because of the way that Twitter does things, because of the fact that you have to keep like writing up, like continuing it with multiple comments, and like some people will just see the top one and they won't click on it to see the rest. It's really hard to just say something on Twitter and be able to get your entire point out or have it be understandable. And also, because it's in text, generally tweets end up, whether intentionally or not, coming out sounding like very condescending. It's just Twitter is shitty. I think we can all agree. Twitter is really toxic and unhealthy to be on. But ContraPoints responded to a tweet about the trans experience, or her experience as a trans woman, and some people took that as her being discriminatory towards non-binary people. I've got a lot to say about this subject. Everything from ContraPoints, like clarifying ContraPoints' point, to why I think that a lot of people have problems with ContraPoints. Because there's a significant amount of people out there who are leftists who fucking despise ContraPoints, and we're going to explain why. But let's start by reading the tweet that got her canceled in the first place, okay? So she read it. We obviously can't go back and look at these tweets alone because she deleted her Twitter. It's like we can't see this one, but I remember what this tweet said. We'll go over basically everything she said as well as her response, which really should have, like, I feel like to most people this should have absolved her of most of the, baby rage. But, what can you do? So, this is the tweet that got her canceled. So she commented or quote tweeted this person named Diana Tourier? I'm going to say it's Tourier. I honestly can't tell. Sometimes it's funny when you're the only trans person in a space where everyone is announcing their pronouns. Like, it gets to you, and a hush falls over the room, and you can basically cut the awkwardness of the knife. I think that's what she said. So, ContraPoints responds by saying, "This has happened to me before in hyper-woke spaces. Like, it's me and a bunch of cis women, and we all have to go in a circle saying she, her because I'm there. There's this paradox where I can go to a sports bar in North Carolina and be mismammed all night, no question." Meaning, people see her and they're like, oh yeah, that's a chick. It's a woman. And they're going to assume she's a woman. No question. But in self-consciously trans-inclusive spaces, I have to explain my pronouns and watch woke people awkwardly correct themselves every time they say you guys. So, Yes. And then she continues to say that she's not a fan personally of gender neutral language when she's in more woke spaces because she prefers having people guess her gender. She likes having her gender assumed, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. As we've already clarified, Twitter is a terrible platform. Really, really fucking hard to make a point or to make explain how you feel without it coming off as condescending or, as people in chat are saying, badly worded. Okay? So what she's saying here is most trans people. All right, let me see how I can explain this. Most trans people who are binary trans people put in a significant amount of effort and thought into trying their best to adhere to the gender norms of the gender that they identify as. So most trans women wear makeup. They dress as, girly as they can. They want people to assume their gender being a woman, They want that. When that happens, this triggers something that is not dysphoria. This triggers basically the opposite of dysphoria, euphoria. And so, as a trans person, when you identify as a gender, you put a lot of work and thought, and you constantly think about it, oh fuck, do I pass well enough? Do I look enough like a woman? Do I look enough like a man? Oh my, I don't want people to think that, or what if somebody goes up to me and they ask me, hey, what gender do you identify as? It means I'm not doing good enough. That's the thought process that most trans people have going through their head. Most binary trans people have going through their head, right? So the problem, yeah, I know, I'm defining binary trans people. I clarified that when I started this. So what ContraPoints is saying here is that she likes it, and most binary people like it, when they go to, in a public space, and people assume their gender correctly without even second thought. When ContraPoints goes to a sports bar, and she's sitting there, getting a beer or something at the bar or something, and straight dudes come up to her, and they hit on her, and they're just like, hey, baby, how you doing? Maybe it's a little creepy to randomly go up to women and hit on them at the bar, but that feels good for her. That triggers the opposite of dysphoria. That is what binary trans people really like. So what she was talking about here in this tweet, and I guarantee if she'd explained this in a video instead of on Twitter, the worst platform in the world besides Facebook, this wouldn't have been an issue. So basically, she goes on to explain that she feels more so upset when she's in more woke spaces, places where people always ask pronouns, and she's like, do you really have to ask my pronouns? Because, it triggers dysphoria. It does. It's not something she can decide to do. It just doesn't. So now what we have are people, like Cinny in chat right now, probably your stinkiest take, Cinny. More stinky than back when you were a gamer centrist. You're saying that's selfish. But it's not. It's just not. She wasn't having a take. This wasn't her opinion. She wasn't saying that you ought to stop doing this in spaces. In fact, she even goes on to say, shortly after, those of you who are mad about this thread, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a norm for disclosing pronouns in trans-positive spaces, and I'm happy to give up having my gender assumed to help non-binary / non-passing trans people. But why can't I at least acknowledge this hurts more than helps me? She's literally, what you're saying is, this trans woman should shut the fuck up about how she feels and what triggers her dysphoria in certain situations. She didn't say it in a way that was selfish. She didn't say it in a way that was inconsiderate. She just didn't. It was literally just her talking about how this makes her feel. and didn't even suggest anything should be changed. It wasn't a take. It wasn't a suggestion. It was just her saying how this makes her feel. Look at the way this tweet is worded. It's just her explaining her experience. She isn't suggesting anyone ought to do anything. This is the tweet. Not all trans people have the same needs, and some of the rules that trans people have taught woke cis people to follow lead to me being misgendered, they, and interrogated about my gender. She's just talking about her experience. Cindy, it's Twitter. You can't expect people to word shit well on Twitter. You have no idea how many times I've been on Twitter. You have no fucking idea how many times I've wanted to make a tweet and then just realized halfway through writing it, there's no way I can write this tweet. There's no way that with the tone that people read tweets, that I can write this tweet without getting it, like, canceled. I can say it on stream when people can actually hear my voice and I can thoroughly explain my point, but there's no way I could fully explain my view using a tweet. That's the problem. Twitter's a fucking terrible platform. This is the tweet thread, yeah, that was it. But this isn't, like, a take. People keep saying, yeah, but it was a bad take, though. Yeah, it was selfish. This is just her explaining how this makes her feel. Like... And then at the end of it, Cindy, you can't even say that, though. Because at the end of it, she says, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a norm for disclosing pronouns in trans-positive spaces, and I'm happy to give up having my gender assumed to help non-binary / non-passing trans people. But why can't I at least acknowledge that this hurts me more than helps me? She's not suggesting people ought not do it, and she even says she's willing to take that. She is willing to help non-binary people and deal with that. I don't see how you can be so mad at this. I think I have a take on why there's on the people who are, like, the actual people getting mad about this, but it's just ridiculous that people are so mad at this as they are. Like, let me give you guys, like, an analogy here. Imagine I go on Twitter and I type out, hey, I know a lot of people really like cheese on their cheeseburgers, but personally, I really hate cheese on cheeseburgers. And when people, like talk to me and they're like, God, I'd love to have a cheeseburger right now with just melty, delicious cheese, it kind of grosses me out because I don't like cheese on my burgers very much. That's like, and then I tweet that, and people look at that tweet, and they're like, wow, that's really selfish. So you're saying people can't eat cheeseburgers around you? You're saying people shouldn't eat cheeseburgers? That's a really rough take. Like, that's really selfish. What about the people who do like eating cheeseburgers? And it's like, bro, all I said is I don't like cheese on my cheeseburgers. And then, adding to that, what if I followed it up by saying, oh yeah, by the way, you can eat cheeseburgers around me. I have no problem with people enjoying cheeseburgers, okay? You can have cheese on your burger. I just prefer my burgers without cheese. But hey, if a friend were to buy me a cheeseburger, I'd probably deal with it and just eat it just cuz it's polite and it's the nice thing to do. Like, that's the equivalent here, right? However, I do have a criticism about ContraPoints. Everyone get your rees out now, but I'm about to criticize ContraPoints. A genuine criticism, right? This isn't going to be, oh, she was misunderstood. This is something that I've noticed about ContraPoints that I actually kind of have a little bit of a problem with. All right, here we go. Hear me out, though. Hear me out. Trans people... Okay, actually, first, let me ask something. Do a hypers in chat if you're a trans person and you're 30 years old or older. Because those of you who are 30 years old or older, who are trans in my chat, especially if you've been identifying as trans publicly for, like, a long time, you'll be able to understand what I'm about to say. So if you're 30 years old or older and you're trans, please, like, let me know in chat right now. Because maybe even if you're, like, 25 to 26, I don't know. Like, if you would say that you're a boomer, if people would call you a boomer and you're a trans person, announce yourself. You're 20, it's not old enough. Hexteria, are you a boomer trans person? Okay. So to all my boomer trans people in chat, this is the take. This is the thing that I've noticed, okay? The trans community, if you want to call it that, is very different now than what it used to be. All right? So ContraPoints, it looks very young, but she's a boomer. Most people would consider her to be a boomer. And she's tweeted about this. She is a very boomer perception of the trans community, right? She doesn't do the like ooh trans rights kind of thing, which is, I love the ooh trans rights shit, but you never really see ContraPoints engaging in that. Like when you watch ContraPoints videos, she doesn't really do that stuff. She's very she there's something about her that's very strange. So something I notice a lot about, and then on top of that, we see this much more with Blair White than with ContraPoints, but it's something that a lot of older trans people, especially trans women, sometimes exhibit. A lot of or a lot of people in any marginalized group, they tend to strive for acceptance, and sometimes they're willing to trample or exclude or look down upon other marginalized groups that are like more marginalized than them, so that they can kind of fit in with the fucking non-marginalized groups, like usually white people, like white dudes and stuff. So like ContraPoints is admittedly extremely privileged. For a trans woman, yeah, very privileged, and she admits this herself. This isn't like I'm not being like mean or anything. She's very privileged. She is white, very wealthy because of her YouTube channel. She has the funds for the most part, and the ability to transition with about as few obstacles as you could possibly have being a trans person in America. Like if I had to choose to be any trans person in the world, I would choose to be ContraPoints. She's very privileged. And she admits this. And so sometimes I feel like she probably doesn't fully understand non-binary people. Very much like many cis people don't understand non-binary people. I won't lie. Sometimes she makes fun of this idea of a what is her video called? There's a character named Tiffany Tumbles that she has in her videos, right? Here, she made a video a year ago. She makes fun of this idea of like a trans woman who's a Trump supporter and super privileged and shits on trans people, like being a true scum, and does exactly what I was just talking about. She makes fun of this idea. The problem is when she parodies it in a video, she makes it very clear that when she has a character in her videos that she makes fun of, for the most part, they are representations of views that she's had. I think she's said that in her videos, like a lot of her characters are like little bits of her personality, like parts of her that, like, particularly when she criticizes them, like Tabby, like the Tabby character. I'm pretty sure she said that, like, yeah, so whenever I have Tabby on, like a video on Tabby, like Tabby's like the part of me that's a bit of an anarchist, Tiffany Tumbles is the part of me that used to be a bit of a true scum, so on and so on, right? A lot of her characters that she has in her skits are like parts of her that she either used to identify as, like different views and whatnot, or stereotypes she used to embody, right? That's how she's always like made her characters. So I have no doubt, since she's made the Tiffany Tumbles character, that she used to have a bit of like true scum, not exact NB-phobic views. I don't think she's actually NB-phobic now, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm pretty sure she's not NB-phobic. I guess that's what we're gonna say. NB-phobic? Is that the word? I'm pretty sure. it just... On top of that, this is what really upsets me. There is a group of people on Twitter right now. Actually, no. There's two more things I want to cover, all right? Cancel culture. Is it cancer? No. I don't think cancel culture is cancer. A lot of people, even leftists, say that cancel culture is absolute cancer and needs to go. But to be completely honest with you, I don't feel that way. I feel like canceling, it depends on who you're canceling. No one gets mad. No one would be mad. Literally no one here in this chat would be mad if JonTron got canceled, right? Like, genuinely canceled. No one would be mad. But he didn't, because he's a gamer. He's a Nazi and a gamer, and gamers love Nazis. All gamers are Nazis, remember. No one would be mad if JonTron got, like, legit canceled. Just every one of the gamers was like JonTron's canceled, no one watched him anymore. Because he's a Nazi. Like, you would want him to be canceled. No one wants a Nazi. Like, no one wants the reception of, like, a huge public figure being a Nazi to be, oh yeah, but I'm still going to watch his videos, though. Or what about Melanie Martinez, who, if I remember correctly, raped her best friend? I don't know if more came out about that, but I'm pretty sure Melanie Martinez raped her best friend. I remember that being big news. Her getting canceled? Yeah, probably okay. She never raped anyone? Wait, it was proven wrong? Hold on. Was it? Was that proven wrong? She wasn't there that day? Okay, I haven't heard enough about that then. I'll drop that version until I do more research on that. It's been like a year and a half though. I don't really remember. Wasn't it proven fake? Okay. So JonTron, for example. We'll stick with the JonTron example. He machine gunned at Nazi alt-right talking points, right? He's a Nazi. No one would be mad if all the Gamer Bros' reception to that was, yeah, we're not watching him anymore, rather than like, fucking SJW's trying to claim he's a Nazi. Like, what the fuck? So, it depends on who's getting canceled. I personally don't think cancel culture is cancer. Hey, Pope Jupiter, thank you for the tier 1 subscription. Does that make Tabby an Anarchitty? It does, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So I don't think cancel culture is just completely bad. I mean, if I got canceled personally, I don't think I've probably been canceled, right? I've had people jokingly say it, but I don't know. It just seems really, dumb depending on who you want to cancel, because the people who are genuinely canceling ContraPoints are a group of people in the leftist community that I really fucking hate. And I've noticed them on Twitter, and they're just really fucking annoying. They are a group of leftists who don't want the left to spread. They've always hated and disliked ContraPoints because she spreads the left. She has been interviewed and is known, like, quite well as being, like, one of the people that pulls teens out of the alt-right rabbit hole. She did it quite a bit for me. And there's a lot of lefties who don't like that. There's a lot of lefties who don't want the left to actually win. What they actually want is to have the left, like leftism, continue to be an in-group, where it's like, I'm a leftist. No one else even knows what a leftist is, right? And I'm so morally superior for being a leftist. And they want to gatekeep leftism. They want to remain a small group that's easy to gatekeep. They don't want people like Destiny pulling people more towards the left, even though Destiny's a chud, I know. Or ContraPoints pulling people even more towards the left. Or, God forbid, me or Vosh pulling people very to the left. They hate Breadtubers. There's leftists out there that fucking hate Breadtube because they don't want more people becoming lefties. They don't care about the left beating the right. They just want the left to remain a closed-off, easy-to-gatekeep in-group. And I've seen them on Twitter. It's fucking annoying as shit. And those seem to be the people who've never liked ContraPoints and are going out of their way to use this as ammo against ContraPoints when it really shouldn't be. Like, the whole drama was started up in the first place as like a way to attack her from that. And then on top of that, for those of you who are like, why did she delete her Twitter? This isn't even that big of a deal. She was already getting fucking like fucking bulldozed with hate because of this video on TYT ContraPoints Dave Chappelle. So chances are she didn't delete her Twitter because of this drama. She probably deleted it because of this video that has 271,000 views and an overwhelming dislike ratio. Basically, Hassan Piker had ContraPoints on. This was like a day before this whole shit happened. Yeah, ContraPoints also got death and rape threats after this whole thing. Yeah, literally only a few days ago, on September 2nd, Hassan had ContraPoints on TYT and interviewed her about her take on the Dave Chappelle thing. Look at that dislike to like ratio. Look at these comments. Look at these fucking comments. Yeah. She was getting shit tons of hate from Nazis and chuds because of this already. And this video has a shit ton of engagements that are negative. So yeah, Dave Chappelle is one of the most legendary comedians in history, one of the most legendary black comedians in history, but he's a huge transphobe, huge bigot when it comes to, like, LGBT people. It's pretty upsetting. But yeah, he's considered, especially by chuds, like one of the most, because he likes to say the N-word a lot, and he's a black guy, so yeah, the chuds like him. Gamer bros like it, because I think gamer bros, I feel like they get hard every time they hear the N-word. So basically, a few days before this drama, ContraPoints came on here, criticized Dave Chappelle a little bit. Obviously, the chuds got mad, and she was getting bulldozed with hate already. And then she comes out on Twitter with her experience as a trans woman, and then other leftists start turning against her and, like, shitting on her for, like, something that's not even a big deal. Like, if you want to criticize ContraPoints, you can, but over this? Like, you're basically telling a trans woman to shut up about her experience. This isn't Blair White that we're talking about. This isn't true scum, non-binary, like Blair White that we're talking about. Blair White genuinely doesn't think non-binary people are valid. She says non-binary people, in my opinion, like, this is what she said. Non-binary people are not part of the trans community. They make us, as in binary trans people, look bad. Blair White, I feel like, is willing to walk on the heads of every single trans person in the world just to be more accepted personally. She's selfish as fuck. If you want to talk about selfish binary trans people, look at Blair White, not fucking ContraPoints. ContraPoints, one of the people who's done she is the second most famous trans person besides maybe Caitlyn Jenner in the world, and you don't exactly want Caitlyn Jenner and Blair White, the two most famous trans people in the world right now, to be the representatives of trans people in the mainstream. If you really want to cancel ContraPoints, and yes, Cindy, she is a leftist. She's a leftist. ContraPoints is a leftist. Is that really what you guys want? Like, come on. Stop with the self-cannibalization, okay?